There's a gamut of luxury car makers who are also attempting to design superyachts. And now, Studio FA Porsche has launched the latest entrant to the Superyacht Club. Porsche-crafted superyacht has hit the market with a look of something out of this world. That was the intention when Singapore-based firm Royal Falcon Fleet approached Studio FA Porsche, a subsidiary of the iconic sports car maker, to help make a spaceship on the water, according to the Austria-based design agency. The 135-foot yacht was officially listed earlier this month with a price on application, according to the brokers Camper and Nicholson's. The modern interiors feature soft, curving edges and a palette of white, black, and blue. The superyacht, known as Royal Falcon 1, features a catamaran design, a style whereby two parallel hulls act like legs, lifting the whole ship off the water. Royal Falcon Fleet CEO and President M.A. Zaman has said the unorthodox shape is meant to differentiate the yacht from its peers. In St. Tropez or Fort Lauderdale, you see 20 or 30 or 40 mega yachts standing there pretty much looking the same, Mr. Zaman said from London's Superyacht Design Week in 2014. Unless you look at the name of the boat, you don't see a difference. The catamaran design is also functional by allowing the bedroom suites a more luxurious position at or above the main deck rather than below, the way standard monohull yachts are often arranged. True to Mr. Zaman's word, Royal Falcon houses 3 guest cabins on the main deck, while the master suite and so-called VIP suite on the upper deck, giving them loftier views over the water, according to the listing with Camper and Nicholson's. Instead, the 2 hulls are used to house cabins for the ship's 10-person crew. Built in Sweden, the fuel-efficient superyacht has a cruising speed of 15 knots and can top out at about 35 knots, according to the listing agents. Inside, Studio FA Porsche imbued the lavish interiors with a bit of space-age modernism, including free-form leather sofas, a clean color palette of whites, grays, and blacks, and automatic sliding glass doors. The designers employed smooth lines and curved, organic edges recognizable in Porsche's iconic automobiles, images show. Royal Falcon 1 also houses a range of luxurious amenities, including a top deck with a jacuzzi, a main saloon with a backlit bar and panoramic observation deck, as well as a private open-air deck off the master suite, according to the listing. The history of the Porsche company began long before Ferdinand Porsche thought of starting his own auto manufacturing business. As a young engineer, he designed the first electric gasoline hybrid in 1900. Over his career, he worked with Daimler, Mercedes, Daimler-Benz, Volkswagen, Auto Union, and others for nearly 50 years. His independent design firm was even responsible for the creation of the Volkswagen Beetle in 1931. The son, Ferry Porsche. It seems appropriate that Ferry was born while his father was at a race. As he got older, he became a draftsman and test driver at his father's firm, but he was most instrumental in the design of the first ever Porsche, the 356, which Ferry worked on while his father spent 20 months in prison in Dijon, France, as a war criminal. Ferry had also been arrested but was soon released. To keep the family firm afloat, he designed race cars and this first ever Porsche sports car, the 356. The first Porsche 356 had a rear-mounted, souped-up 40-horsepower Volkswagen engine and parts sourced from wherever the company could find them, this being post-war Europe. A Zurich, Switzerland distributor ordered 5 of the cars, which were hand-built at the company's headquarters in Gmünd, Austria. 1 month after the first car left the factory, a 356 won its first race. The model went into regular production in 1950, and in 1954, a speedster version was introduced. The 10,000th 356 rolled off the assembly line in 1956, followed in later years by the 356B. Creating the icon, birth of the 911. Unlike many other car companies, the Porsche crew plodded forward with little drama even after Ferdinand Porsche passed away in 1951 at age 76. They found their flagship in 1963, the 911. The concept had been called the 901, but the 1964 production car was officially named the 911. It had a 2-liter 6-cylinder engine that put out 130 horsepower, far more than its predecessor. Targa, semi-automatic, high-performance, and entry-level versions followed within the decade. To the nines. In 1965, Porsche ended 356 productions, but its engine lived on the new entry-level 912. This, in turn, was replaced in 1970 by the mid-engine 914, and in 1976, the front-engine 924, with its Audi power plant replaced the 914. The all-new 928 debuted in 1978 with a 240-horsepower V8. The 944, which went on sale in 1982, was based on the 924, but the new model had a Porsche-built four-cylinder engine. The supercar 959 debuted at the 1985 Frankfurt Auto Show, and in 1987, the 250,000th 911 rolls off the line. It's enough to make a person wish for cars with names, rather than project numbers. Racing records. While sports cars for the masses were pouring out of the Porsche factory, its race cars were winning on tracks around the world. In 1951, the little 356 SL took a class victory at Le Mans, and in 1956, the 550 Spider took its first overall victory at the Targa Florio. The 1960s and 70s saw a run of wins at the Nürburgring 1,000-kilometer race, the 24 Hours of Daytona, the Can-Am Series, and the World Championship of Makes. The 1980s saw wins for the 911 Carrera 4x4 and the 959 in the Paris-Dakar Rally. Manufacturers' milestones. In 1984, Porsche went public. The company had been controlled by the Porsche and Pache families from the start, Dr. Ernst Pache being Ferdinand Porsche's son-in-law, and they kept 50% of the shares for themselves. Production-wise, Porsche continued to crank out high-quality sports cars in very high numbers. The 911 hit the 250,000th mark in 1987. The company introduced its Tiptronic clutchless manual transmission in 1990, an innovation that held its own for nearly 2 decades before being replaced by the dual-clutch PDK system in the 2009 911 Carrera. In 1988, 50 years after designing the 356, Ferry Porsche died. Back to basics. The early 1990s were almost as bad for sports car manufacturers as the gas crisis of the 1970s. And Porsche was in danger of being taken over by a larger company. Dr. Wendelin Weideken, the former head of production, stepped in as CEO and refocused development on the can't-miss 911. The mid-engine Boxster was a concept introduced not long after, and the front-engine models were discontinued. As a tribute to its new stability, the 1 millionth Porsche was built in July of 1996. In late 2008, the company made its next corporate move by buying a controlling 1/3 of Volkswagen's shares. 3 sports cars and an SUV. Though it builds in large numbers, Porsche has 4 basic models on the market: the 911 Carrera, the Boxster, the Cayman, which was introduced in 2006, and the Cayenne Sports SUV, which debuted in 2007. The all-new Porsche Panamera was slated to debut as a 2010 model. After decades of 9 series model names, the current roster rolls off the tongue as easily as the cars roll off the production line in Stuttgart. So what do you think of this luxury superyacht? Do you think it can make a difference in the superyachts industry produced by other car makers? And what do you think about the journey of Porsche from supercars to superyachts? Well, let us know in the comments section, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.